Hello, everyone. The book we're going to be talking about today, it has two of my favorite subjects in horror combined in one glorious bloody package. I can't wait to tell you about it, and I'm going to do that in just a minute. But first, I want to let you know that my book of short horror stories, called The Things That Happen at Night, is available at the link in the description for only $3. Also, I send out a newsletter 2 times a month, and if you want to join that, there's a link down below where you can do that as well. Also, check out my Twitter and Instagram. I'd love to have you on there. Check all those links out. Now let's get on with the video. All right. So the book we're going to be talking about today is called Cracked Altar, St. Andrews by David Viergutz. As I said in the beginning, I had a conversation with David through email asking about if he wanted reviews on his books on YouTube or if he was just looking on Amazon reviews, things like that. And he said, no, any review is good. As a matter of fact, let me send you a copy of one of my books. Which one do you want so you can read it? And if you like it, you can review it. I started looking through his catalog there, and I saw one that really piqued my interest, and I think I made the right choice. And it was, of course, this book. And the reason is because it has two of my favorite horror themes combined in one. First, it features a small town with some dark hidden secrets. And in that town, there's a disused church that hasn't been used in a long time and is now being used for some very evil, horrifying purposes. So it's got some religious horror in there. It's got the small town horror vibe going on through it. And I absolutely loved it. Our main protagonist is a detective. His name is John Nova. And for 12 years, he spent time in the homicide department in a big city. He's seen everything that all the evil men can do to one another. So he's kind of jaded, and he's kind of he's got a wall up around himself, protecting him because he's seen so much. He's also very pragmatic. But he's a pretty nice guy overall. He has his wife, he has his son, very loving family. But he finds himself not being able to sleep. Something happened in his last department, an incident happened, and he was forced to find another job. And now he finds himself in this small little Texas town for a lot less money, starting out basically as a rookie, having to be supervised and all that. And he's having trouble sleeping. And this starts affecting him mentally. He's required to go see a therapist. And part of that therapy is him writing journals, bits and pieces about his day. And we start out with that, in fact. I love the structure of this book because we start out reading a few of David's journal entries, or John's journal entries, leading up to the events that the rest of the book will provide in the third person. So we're hearing from him in the first person through his entries at first, and then we jump into the third person. And that's a very effective way to set up the story in the beginning for the horrors that are going to come later on. I really thought that was brilliant. I absolutely love that. But basically, he receives a 911 call as part of his duties. He has to go check out this call, working the night shift. And it brings him to a church in the middle of a field. And there's something about this church, something off. And I'm not going to tell you the exact details because you do have to read this book to find out all the specifics. It'd be a lot more fun for you that way. But he finds himself being suspended without pay because of the death of a female paranormal investigator who happened to cross his path around the same time he was investigating this creepy church that gave him a bad vibe. She winds up disappearing. There's blood on the scene. And he, of course, is a person of interest because there was only the two of them there. So not only does he get suspended, but eventually he gets fired. They just let him go. And then now he's got these financial problems going on. He's got the fact that he can't sleep working against him. And now he's got an impending criminal investigation that could send him to prison for a very long time, hanging over his head. And all of this starts to erode his mind. He starts getting a little cranky. He starts getting upset. And for some reason, he's drawn to this church. Or rather, I should say this church is drawn to him. And again, you're going to have to read about how that happens. But he sees the church not only in his nightmares, but in his waking state as well. During the day, he'll just see this church off in the middle of a field where he knows it's impossible, that there's not a church there. He'll see it. He'll see the spire coming up above the treetops in the middle of the woods when he knows the church isn't there. It's a good 20 miles away. But for some reason, he keeps having thoughts and visions and nightmares about this particular church. And along the way, he's going to meet some people. He's going to work with another paranormal investigator, something he does not believe in, by the way, and that's the beauty of this book. All the way, he does not believe in the supernatural, the paranormal. He's a detective. He was a good detective. He just deals with the facts, things that you can prove, things that you can see. But eventually, he has to start accepting that something else might be at work here. And it will not only affect him, but perhaps put his entire family in danger. And as we get further into this book and we meet different characters and different pieces of this lore and this legend of this church start coming together, we realize he's facing something much worse than what any man could ever do. It's an ancient evil that makes Satan himself look like a Disney character. And he and his family are caught right in the middle of it. And now it's going to be up to him, with the help of this private investigator or this paranormal investigator, to find out what's happening, to save his family. And will he do that? Well, I'm not going to let you know because that would be a spoiler. But trust me, the ending is very exciting. Once they get into the church, we're going to see that things are not as they seem on the outside. There are some people he's going to meet along the way that are definitely not who they seem at first. And yeah, this book has some twists. It's got some turns. But it's a very frightening book because it's a straight-on horror novel. That's what I like about it. I love books that are, I guess you could call elevated horror. I like books that deal with social issues and puts them in a horror context, and they have an underlying message beneath the thrills and the chills. I like books like that. I do. But nothing beats a good old-fashioned, just straight-on horror novel. There's no subtext here about any kind of issues or anything. It's just horror for the sake of horror, and it's done extremely well. And that's what I love about it. This book will keep you interested all the way through. You'll have to keep turning the pages, find out what is going on here. How come he's seeing this? How is his family involved? Are these people bringing forth these evil entities through rituals? Are they going to get to his family before he can figure out a way to save him? Because more is at stake than just his own life and just his own career. Much, much more. And as you read, you're going to find out what that is. And then it's a race against time. I absolutely love this book. I thought it was great, very easily read. And one thing I really like is that the character of John Nova almost reads like almost a noirish kind of pulpy, old-time detective story. And the way the author describes him and his moods and how stoic he is and how pragmatic and how he's a very honest man with himself and with everyone else, and sometimes that gets him in trouble. His mouth sometimes, and the way his feelings gets him in trouble, but he's still a good detective, and he's still willing to listen to people, even if he doesn't believe it, but sometimes that can be a hindrance. And I like the fact that it's so easily read in that noirish kind of way, as the story progresses. This author does not use any extra words that he doesn't have to. He puts all his thoughts and all the narrative together, and it flows wonderfully. You won't be able to put it down. It's a fantastic novel. And like I said, small town horror meets some religious horror with some very heavy implications. And how could you not love that? Yes, I absolutely recommend this book. And there is a link below in the description for you to purchase it on Amazon. Well, go ahead and do that. Cracked Altar, St. Andrews, by David Viergutz. And also down below, of course, is a link to my horror book, a link to my newsletter if you want to sign up for that, my Twitter and Instagram. And if you want more horror reviews, check out those you see on the screen. And as always, thank you for taking some of your time spending it with me. And until we meet again, keep reading spooky, my friends.